Hey guys, welcome back to Science and Science Only, and in today's video we are making magnetic chessboard using Tinkercad. So Tinkercad is basically an online website that you can make 3D objects out of, and we're gonna use that to make a chessboard and all of its chess pieces magnetic. I've already built everything, so I'm gonna disassemble them each, so I'll show you how to make them yourself. I'm also gonna do a copy of this in the description, so you can also modify mine and do whatever you want with it. So I've started off with the black squares, and you can see how I built here. Let's start off with the squares themselves. These squares are made 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters, so they're pretty small, or 1 millimeter. I mean 1 centimeter. Sorry. Hang on. So I disassembled the squares. So starting off with the black squares, so this is how it works. These squares are each made of 10 millimeter plastic, as in so they're 10 millimeters in dimension. So this to this is 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter, and I've arranged them and made 32 of them. So half of the board is 32 squares and the other half is white. Okay. Disassembling them even more so we get the holes. For the holes, I made them because you can actually fit the magnets inside, so the pieces won't fall off. And the magnets I'm using are 5 millimeters by 5 millimeters, so 5 millimeters the radius, and the height is 2 millimeters, so pretty small magnets. And to be fair, this is a pretty small chessboard compared to the normal size ones. They're pretty big. And after I finished this, I added basically the y-axis, you can say, for the chessboard. These are made of numbers, of course. So for the numbers, I made them for the numbers, I made them so you can fit. For example, if this is a black, which it is, I'm gonna fit the white numbers. So I actually made the white numbers so I can fit them on each of these holes. These are actually holes, as you can see, so you don't have difficulty looking at them. And I also made the black numbers over here so that you can put them on the white board. I also did the same thing for the letters, these, and also I also made a tiny hole for the magnet, same dimension. So I'm going to use the same magnet for the entire chess thing. Also made magnets over here. I'll tell you later why I did this. Also over here, each of these triangles has 2 magnets, one underneath and one on top. And this is how you build them. You'll get it like this. So this is how you will receive the thing when you first enter the Tinkercad. Nice. And this is how you will get to build it. So first, we need to align these two so that they're next to each other. Yes, make sure it's like this. So you're gonna actually have to move the pieces and move them together like this. Yeah, you don't have to do anything with the letters. You'll just need to glue these, but before you glue them, you first have to align the pieces. So for this, make sure, this is quite important, make sure that you don't have to rotate any of the pieces. Yeah, so make sure that H8, so that is the square, is black, because if you're printing them, you don't want H8 and H8 black and H8 white to be coexist. That's gonna make that's gonna have to make you reprint the design again. So if H8 is black, then H7 will be white. And align the tiny pieces to be next to the edges, so like this side. We're basically making a triangle out of this. So we're basically making a triangle out of this if you ignore all of these extra pieces. So why we're making a triangle? Well, a triangle is half of a quadrilateral basically, and I made half of the triangle black and whites, and like just to link it to just themes, black and white. So this is the other half of the edges are gonna be white. By the way, if it's in red, it's still like making every piece stick together, so you can wait a little bit. And that's how you build the black parts together. So this is how the white squares are going to look like if they're built, and so this is how you assemble them together. So as I mentioned, the triangles are going to be like this, and both of the triangles make a hole. That's for another magnet. And as I said, H8 is black, so H7 must be white. So again, look at this video. You can even pause it before you print the design. And this is how it should look like. So we will start from the pawns, and then after, at the end, we'll go to the king and queens. So I will disassemble each piece to show you how I made it. So from the pawns, so you'll get each pawn like this, and at the bottom of the pawn there's a hole there for the magnets, so that each pawn sticks to the board. So this is how the pawn should look like at the end. So pawns are pretty simple here. They're only made of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. On top of the pawns, I made using the spear, so you can get the spear on the basic shapes and change it to the size of 4.58 millimeters. 4.58 millimeters on the Y and X axis. On the Z axis is 4.4, so basically the height. And for the hyperboloid, I'm not sure how you say it, but on the one over here, so there's actually two, one on the long one, like the neck, and the short one. So For this, the short one, I made it 0.89. The printer's not going to print it exactly, but it'll be around that point, like 0.9ish, and 0.55 for the diameter. For the inner radius, so that is these parts, the ones that kind of like bulge out. So the inner radius is 6, and then the outer radius is, I actually scaled this so the inner radius is not quite accurate. And for the one with the neck, the height of it is 6.67. Again, it's not going to be accurate. And then 4.6 and 4.6 for the diameter, basically. And then the slice cylinder, I actually then changed it to 2. The height is 2. And also the diameter is 7.5 for the base. So this is how I actually sliced it. I used a giant cube. And for the circle, well, no, sorry, sphere, I used 1mm by 1mm by 1mm. And that is it for the bishop. Next is the horse. Now the horse was very difficult to make. It took me like half an hour to make this. Very long. Its height are 21 by 10 by 11. I actually extended it because of the, I guess the beak or nose something. Yes, this is exceeded by 1. Okay. For the ears, so I used the paraboloid again for the ears. Its dimensions are 4mm and 2.5 at the millimeters, so the diameter. For the head, I use 6mm and 6mm, so 6mm by 6mm by 6mm. For the beak, I used a square basically, well, a cube, and then used it with a round roof, so that's this. For the square, I used 3mm by 1 by 3, 3 by 1 by 3 basically. And for the roof, I used 3 by 1 by 1. I actually used sliced cylinder for this instead of the paraboloid or something. For the base radius, I used 5. Wait, actually, no, for the base, I used 6 by 4.5. I actually shortened it because, well, horses don't have a circular thing like neck. And 13 as the height. And for this, the base 10 by 10. For this, I used a flattened cylinder instead of the I used a flattened cylinder instead of the sliced cylinder because you kind of have to shorten this bit but make the base flat. And for the shortened cylinder, the flattened cylinder, yeah, this. And change the dimensions of it. The base is 10. For the top radius is 3mm. Top amount flattened is 0.25. Top flattened direction is 90 degrees. Bottom radius 5. And then height is 4. So these two are 0. And then edges is 100. So yeah, cylinder is always the same. So and then we get to the rocks or the elephants. The height is 19mm. For the total thing. For the rook, I actually used a cylinder to make the whole of the I guess the cheese cone, I guess. That is 6 by 6, and the height is 20. And the length, I guess, is 5, and the height is 3. You don't really have to do the exact same because I changed the plot by over here. So base radius is 5, top radius is 5. I don't want this to cone. And the height is 20. Oh, probably because I changed it. So the arc is 45 degrees. And I used a slice cylinder for this. And I used 4. And I used another slice cylinder to make the hole over there. So I made a cone for this. If I make it so. Yeah, so I used a cone basically. And the base radius is 5.98. And the height is 1 millimeter. And I used a tube, so you can find a tube over here. The tube is 10 millimeter by 10 millimeter. You can change the thickness, it doesn't really matter. Wall thickness is 2, and then sides is 64. I used another slice cylinder. I actually used the same dimensions of this, so I copied this and flipped it upside down. So I'll show you how to do it. And turn this 180 degrees, and then you get the same dimensions. Base radius 5, so the radius is 10. I mean the diameter is 10. Top radius 3. And then height is 2. I used a cylinder again for the neck. And then for the queen, I used a Irispheri, I don't know, 6 millimeters in all dimensions. Radius is 3, resolution 5. I actually messed up the resolution. It looks better on 5. I could have used a spare, but I didn't. For the base radius, it's 4, top radius 3, height 2, arc 360 degrees. Sides 64, bevel 2.5, segments 10. You don't really have to use the segments, but if you do, you're gonna have to carve out these edges here. The printer might print a bit of support for that. For the hyperboloid, I used height as 16, outer radius 3, inner radius 1.5, sides 60. And then these 3 are exactly the same, 10 millimeters to for the king. I use, the height is 30. The king is the tallest of them all. The second tallest is the queen at 29 millimeters. For the for the top of the king, they usually do a normal cross. I didn't use that because you're gonna have to trim all of the other pieces apart, the extras. So I basically made it simple and used 9 pyramids. For this, I used a sliced cylinder and one hole instead of the two I used in the queen. Just like you can also use the box itself, remove all the pieces in the box, and then use the box itself as a stand to change the height of where you want to like place the chessboard. So now I'll be disassembling the board, well, the box itself. The box is the most complex of them all. Since I added the design, it got more complicated. So now let's disassemble this entire box. This is why I made a copy, if I don't get it to go back together as it was. The box. So the box dimension is 40 and 10.521. The box itself is 100. 105.21 millimeters. The box itself is 100. The 5.21 extra is the wall itself. I made the wall a little bit like it's piercing out to give it like a castle kind of feeling. If I disassemble it even further, I added an extra hole over here to trim any extras So there was some of the brick wall coming over underneath, which I didn't like. I want the print to be smooth, so this is why I added the hole there. And the brick wall, the dimensions of it are, you have to choose the dimensions over here or it's not going to look like a brick wall. So height is 40, width is 10, depth is 8, ground to brick ratio is 0.1, rows 5, columns 7, depth noise is 0.05, placement noise is 0.05, size noise 0.05, shape noise, is it noise? I mean shape, yeah, shape noise 0.02, offset even rows, and I can't really go back, I don't know why. And I used 1, I duplicated the original one, and I put it all the way over here. So for this one, it's actually 1, I didn't use 2. Yeah, so the borderline's basically happening it. So is it the same for these? So that's just 1 brick wall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I used 5 in this. And for this, I used a Varone. I don't know how to say it, but it's on the very last section on featured. Changing the dimensions. You can actually change the randomizer, and also of cells 64. I used it. Tile size 100. Tile spacing. So the tile size is the length for each. So that is exactly 100. Cell spacing 1, cell height 2. I didn't add any peaks. I used varying heights, so that's why you can only see some of it. The others are, well, basically some beneath the red color. And the same dimensions, I used the same magnets as I used for the pieces on the board as I used it for this box. The box itself, so yes, the box, I used 2 boxes, one to make the hole and then the other as to like container, as a container basically. Yes, and the borderline, the dimensions of it are length 5, steps 10, radius 0. I never touched the radius on the steps. I only changed the length, width and height. So length is 5, width is 100, height is 40. And this is how it looks. So I will not be changing when I do release this. I will not be changing anything of the box. So I will not be changing anything to the box because it's too complex. So I will be leaving the box as it is now. But you can change the pieces on the board. Yeah, the board. And that's it, guys. So hang on, stop sharing. Yes.